I know you've been trying to lose weight, and since we are talking now, I'm guessing your attempts have fallen flat. I understand wanting to do something, yet simply not knowing where to start or what to do to turn things in your favor. There is a tower of information, some useful, some deeply misguided, and some that hasn't been shared a lot or enough. Things that are hindering you, causing you to be stuck at ground zero. By the time we are done talking today, you will know precisely how to eat to move your weight loss efforts upwards in your favor. And don't let number 5 slip through your fingers. It's the one you will regret most. Ready? Let's dive in. What our great-grands and grandparents knew that our moms probably didn't recognize nor appreciate fully was the importance of consistent eating time frames. Our parents were the generation running off to work, and if they were eating at all, they were grabbing coffee and a bagel or opting for a cigarette and a Diet Coke. Lunch was hit or miss, and dinner were meals that were slowly being supplied more and more from frozen dinners. Eating a bunch of ultra-processed foods with that scarcity mindset got me here. To get here where I am today, I had to go old school. I'm talking my grandparents' old school of eating something first thing in the morning to stoke or prime my digestion. My first meal is typically eaten within an hour of waking up. I know, what about intermittent fasting? I know, that's what you're thinking, because intermittent fasting and meals with little to no carbohydrates, that's what we are seeing more and more of, right? All of those kinds of messages are aimed at us at this age of over 40, right? Yet shockingly, breaking up with intermittent fasting was a long overdue good decision for me. Let's just say intermittent fasting became more of a headache and a hormone disruptor than it was worth, at least for me. And I've heard the same thing from other ladies that I've talked to, had interactions and worked with. So yeah, my first eating time frame, that is within an hour of waking. My next full meal is somewhere between 12 and 2. This meal is usually my meal that is highest calorically. And it makes sense, really. It gives me so many hours to digest that meal before my last meal of the day, which happens about 7:30 or 8 o'clock. All really kind of depending on my work schedule. That last meal, my last meal of the day, is a lighter, faster digesting meal that is just enough to stabilize my blood sugar levels for sound, uninterrupted sleep and recovery from my workout earlier in the day or at any point in the week. You know, it's so funny because when I think about it, it's wild. Without Google searches, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, they knew just how to eat in that very way. They would wake up, break their fast with something light and easy to digest, eat their bigger meal at the high point of the day. They would eat that really big meal to kind of refuel them so they could finish up the day. And then they would end the day with something light. You know, I do not recall my mom sitting me down or chatting with me while driving to the grocery store about the importance of and how to eat until satisfied, not full. Because there's a difference. To give credit now, growing up, my mom did teach or instruct me, Tress, slow down, put that fork down, and chew your food. She taught me how to be present with each bite. We ate at the table. There was no TV playing during meals, not even in the background, and I thank her for that. I wonder, though, if there would never have been an 80-pound overweight me had I also been instructed to evaluate, identify, and listen to the communication from my body. You know, to rely and respect that intel, that feedback that the body gives us. And I guess that could have happened if I had not been tasked with eating everything on my plate in the hopes of vicariously filling the belly of one of those kids from the commercials who didn't have access to food. Now at 52, I get to make choices that make sense for me, like not putting too much food on my plate in the first place to decrease the amount of waste. I get to release myself from the pressure and the guilt for having access to food, money to have access to food, cars to drive to get the food. I get to release myself for being in a position to have that ability, those things accessible to me, to help me feel okay that I am not unending children around the world by not eating to the point of my discomfort. There are so many ways nowadays for us to help those who are underprivileged without necessarily doing damage to ourselves by cleaning our plate when our belly says stop. For not eating myself to the point of discomfort, you know that, oh, I'm so stuffed, feeling it creeps in 15, 20 minutes after we've already eaten. That feeling, yeah, that brings me to the third eating principle that Mom probably didn't talk about. Let me tell you about something that I picked up from studying the science of Ayurveda. It is the power of the burp. To listen for that first burp that happens at some point while eating. Did you know that that burp is our body's signal that our stomach has reached its intake limit? I'm for real. This is a thing. Burping is a natural process and it should not be suppressed. First of all, let's just start there, okay? It is our body's way of trying to release excess gas from our upper digestive tract. So think about it. Putting in more items in a space that is already in use. So think about like an overcrowded conveyor belt at the airport, right? You know what's going to happen if you continue to pile more and more suitcases and bags and purses on that conveyor belt that's already jam-packed, that's already crowded. You know what's going to happen if we listen to that burp and put the fork down, like walk away from the food, then we get to bypass that spillage that will happen. That burp is important. That burp is the burp that keeps us from overeating. That burp is the burp that keeps us from needing to sit back and unbutton our pants and just let it all hang out. That burp does that for us. That burp actually helps us to eat very naturally within a good, healthy caloric range without calculating things. Now, after the burp and the follow through and discipline to push your face and mouth away from that plate, another really valuable eating practice that I must not have been paying attention to at all, because I'm sure somebody, one of those adults in my life, told me not to do this thing, but I have a tendency to be hard-headed. The eating practice that we want to incorporate into our day-to-day is to resist the urge to finish eating, spring up from the table, and go run around doing stuff. We want to stop doing that. It is very important to just take a few moments, 5 to 10 minutes after the meal, to sit and just be. Allow the body to digest, the nervous system to come to a place of calm, just woosah. Right? We do not need to do a whole post-Thanksgiving Day meal nap. It would do us a world of good to take 5 to 10 minutes to sit, do some deep breathing, very similar to these. To calm your body and mind before you go and put on your Superwoman cape and do all of the saving the world things. When I tell you this small action has spared me so many days of walking around feeling tight, uncomfortable, and distended, give this and any of these principles a try and tell me the way you moved and felt throughout the day, it wasn't leveled up. Tell me this, have you fallen into the misguided belief that the only way for you to achieve your health and weight loss goals is that you have to remove and restrict? Yeah, you are not by yourself. I had a subscription for years to that part of Crazy Town too. The more R&R I did, remove and restrict, the more hangry I was. And sadly, more binging behaviors surfaced. My stomach was like a bottomless pit. I was eating everything in sight to a point beyond discomfort until I happened upon the concept of the sixth taste. You ever heard of that? When I tell you my cravings for foods that were counterproductive to my goals and the ability to achieve satiety without overeating was the Lucky Charm bucket at the end of the rainbow, all from incorporating the sixth taste: sweet, sour, salty, pungent, astringent. Incorporating these tastes throughout my meals, throughout the day, totally transformed my relationship with food, making it all the better. Now it's your turn to start developing a better relationship with food. See how to incorporate the sixth taste into your everyday. I'll see you right over here next.